Hey guys, it's Alicia Colon here. I am an empowerment photographer over in Savannah, Georgia. And if you're wondering what in the world is like empowerment photography, essentially what it is that ladies come to me and we celebrate them in one way or the other, always in photography. So we're celebrating birthdays, we're celebrating weight loss milestones, whatever it is. And this particular model wanted to do Halloween portraits for her celebration because she just turned 55 and I'm really excited for you, to see them, learn how I created them. And then on top of that, come with me as I go through all of the illustration from the creation of the photo itself, then from the Lightroom, and then we're going to end up in Photoshop. All right, you guys ready? Let's go. All right, so on my screen is what you guys will see are two images. These are two images that ended up coming from the shoot itself, right? So we have two final images. We have one that's color and one that is black and white. What I really love about this shoot is that it's just really moody and it's really dark. And this is everything that I absolutely love specifically about photography. I'm not a light and airy photographer. I like to control my light. And so that's like one of the first things that I want to share with you guys is the setup. Okay. So here is the setup. So this is my studio. And during the shoot, you can kind of see that it's very dark. I actually have all the lights turned off and I have one little solo light that's over here on the right-hand side in order to me to be able to focus on my model. And then from here, what happens is that I have three different lights set up. And then I make sure that like I have some like fog that's coming up. Now the fog is on a like a remote control. And so I can control when it puffs in and when it puffs out, which is what I really love about this. Now, here's the thing though, is that you're probably wondering, okay, let's talk about the lighting. Because for me, whenever I do like photo shoots, the big thing that we have to understand is this is just like the ingredients of the cake. Right? When you figure out your sugar and your flour and, you know, all the like the vanilla or whatever, like to me, that's what the shoot is all the different ingredients that you're pulling together in order to make the shoot. So let's talk about some of those ingredients that I have. I'm going to pull up some screenshots. All right, cool. So with this particular shot, I have three different lights going on and I'm going to circle them for you so you can see them. So one right here. So that right there, that's actually just a speed light. So everything is off camera flash and everything is studio lights. And then some are modified and some are not. So this right here, this is called a rim light or it's a backlight. And I'm using this in order to separate my subject from the background. So I'll go ahead and pull this up. So essentially like, you know, some of the lights, it's happening like right here. That's the rim light. Right here, I'll bring this one up. That rim light is all of that right there. Right? So it separates the like main subject from the background. All right, now let's go back. And then I have this light here. This is in a softbox. So still, it's another Canon speed light. It's in a softbox. And the reason why I wanted to be in a softbox is because I wanted to widen out the cone of light and I wanted to diffuse the light. I wanted to diffuse it. The bigger the light source, the softer the light is. And when I say softer, that means like the shadow is going to have a little bit of feather to it. If it's a hard light, the transition between light and dark is actually be way more crisp, right? So that's what I wanted from the back is I wanted crisp lines between front and back, right? But here on my model, I want that to be soft light, especially if someone has mature skin, because the thing is about hard light is that it will show off every nook and cranny and crease and pore like forever. So we want to hide that. We don't want anybody to see that. So we're gonna diffuse that to soften that up. And then from there, I have this light. This is my third light. This is my fill. So this is my rim. This is my key light. So it's like my major light. And then this is my fill. All the fill is meant to do is to be a soft, beautiful light to kind of fill in those shadows. So it's not as dark, because here's the thing is that it's easier in like Lightroom and Photoshop to darken those up if I want them to be darkened. But if I want them to be if I want them to be lighter in Photoshop, I'll end up inserting some grain or something, right? So this way, it just gives me a little bit more flexibility. Now, here's the thing that you probably know already about light, right? Is that there are every single light has like a color temperature to it, right? From blue to orange, right? And so since I have orange in my candles here, it didn't make sense for these lights, right, to be shot with my natural daylight, which is actually kind of a blue. So what I ended up doing is I had gels and I put over every single light an orange gel. So now whenever I shot, there was a lot of orange. Okay, so this is how it looks whenever there is no fog. But as soon as we enter fog into the scenario, it completely kind of changes the dynamic. And I wanted to show you guys what that looks like. Look how much lighter it looks, right? So we have the fog going, and essentially what happens is that the little droplets that are inside like the air acts as a diffuser and ends up softening the light. And so what I've learned, whenever you shoot with fog, you need to actually have your lights a little bit less dim than you would if you were shooting, let's say if you're just shooting like your straight subject without fog, because essentially the light is going to just get more dispersed and more soft. And here's another one where it's like you can kind of see like quite literally how foggy we are. So here's what it looks like without the light going off. And here's what it looks like when the light is going off. So it's crazy how much it fades her. And I'm really excited for you to see actually what this image looks like. Okay, so while we're getting here, I'm just going to make sure that we're all good in the hood. Okay, sweet. So let's go ahead and close this out. Okay, and I want to show you guys Lightroom. I'm really excited about that. Let's get in it. All right, so every single photographer, as you guys know, the first thing that you do is that you shoot 50,000 images. And then after you shoot 50,000 images, you end up having to like cull through them, right? Hi guys, thanks for joining. I see you coming in. Okay, so I'm going to kind of show you the grid. So here you go. Here's the grid. So here are the images that I ended up picking that I wanted to shoot for you guys. Okay, and that I wanted to share. So one of the things I wanted like to see off the bat is look how orange it is. Now, here's the thing is that like I shoot all manual settings. And so whenever I was here, I just wanted to make sure that it was all my lighting color, what my color temperature was 100% accurate. And then on top of that, like it was consistent, right? That's the big thing, because I want to come into Lightroom. I want to be able to adjust the image, and then I want to be able to copy and paste a lot of those edits and kind of like tweak them if I needed to. And so in order to do that, I needed to make sure that everything was manually set. And then once it was manually set, I needed to keep it there for that consistency. Now, so everything here I am shooting that I've shot is warm, and you can see how the gels of the light really did a great job melding the orange of the candles with her, which I really loved. Otherwise, it would be completely weird. So I'm just going to cycle through these really quick. So all of these are unedited, 100%. I absolutely love seeing like what the fog does. It just adds another level of texture, which is absolutely stunning. Oops, we need to get back. There we go. Absolutely stunning. And one of the things that you guys saw in my videos is that I was running around like a crazy madwoman, right? Because as you guys know, in photography, like in order to sell your images, you have to sell your images, and it has to be like multiple poses, right? It can't just be the same pose over and over again, because then at that point, they're not going to buy it. They're not going to be interested in it, right? And so you saw me running around different poses, going up, going down, going to the side, having her pose different ways. But if you notice, I kept the light pretty much the same. Yeah, so all of these are raw. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Okay. So, all right. I do love them. I love the texture. And then as you can see, the like you guys saw like some of the photos that I had like this lace that was over on the left-hand side. I think that really did a great job adding some texture. And then I ended up putting her behind the lace. This again is like, it's an $8 Amazon find. And then what I realized is that the black on black, it's really dark, but if you end up putting the fog behind it, it ends up really kind of like opening it up a lot. Hey, Jeremy, good to see you. Seda, Bruce, thanks for coming back. Cody, you're awesome always. And so we just essentially just shoot everywhere. And then here's the thing. This is what I absolutely love. So this is where the rim light just showed. And this is where, because sometimes when you're working with 3 lights, sometimes there's going to be mistakes, right? Sometimes things are going to misfire. And sometimes those things are the ones that you want to keep. And you're like, this is amazing. So this is a really good example of how like I had that soft light and that softbox come, and that softbox, right, has like a black rim around it. So what it does is that it really narrows the light. And so it creates this really moody image, and I super love it. But then sometimes it didn't shoot, but the rim light still shot. And so what I loved is that this is what it looks like when the rim light just shot. And I'm like, oh, this is still really, really good. So it's just one of those reminders that like, if there is a like mistake, like it actually still might not be a mistake. Bruce asked, is there a time limit that you have to keep in mind? Yeah, so this particular shoot ended up only being about 45 minutes long. So I had to like zip through all of these. I absolutely love how like the light, I love how the light gets her eyes on that one. So this is what it looked like when at the very end. Remember what I was talking about when like that screenshot? Let's see. Let me see if I can pull that screenshot up again, because that screenshot was awesome. Okay, so here we go. All right, so this is what it looked like on my phone. Okay, and this is what it looked like in my camera. So I'm just going to pull that up again, just so you guys can see, well, where did you go? You're right here. I'm going to make that smaller. So I absolutely love how the fog ends up becoming the background, and it ends up becoming like this, like an insanely amazing. Oh, I just love it. I just love it. I just love it. Okay, cool. So enough talking about that. If you guys have any questions about lighting or the fog or anything like that, you guys let me know. I can see your questions, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start diving into Lightroom. Okay. So this is like one of my favorite images, and I want to edit this one particularly for you. Okay. So as you know, as I already said, a lot of these, all of them are orange, right? So I know off the bat, I'm going to have to like edit the color. Okay. Yeah, there is a huge difference between what my iPhone caught and then what my camera caught, right? Okay, so, but actually the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm not going to edit the color with this. What I like to do, so I'm in Lightroom, I'm not in Lightroom Classic, but I did play around with like some, so Sean, if you guys were in here earlier, Sean, Castle, him right there, Sean. I'm just talking about you. He's actually in Lightroom Classic, and some of the like hotkeys and whatever he was doing, I just made sure that I could do them as well in my Lightroom. And I absolutely love that there's 2 different flavors. So anyway, I'm in regular old Lightroom, and I absolutely love it. Okay, so this is where I'm at. The first thing that I do is I like to go to black and white. I like to really kind of see like where my values are, where my lights are, my darks are. I don't even want to kind of worry about color at this juncture. Okay. So right now, I know for me, the way that I edit is I generally love, love, love to always lift the midtones. That is one of my favorite things. And then I want to get dark. I love like super contrast, right? Maybe even wondering like, what would it look like to have like a little brighter here, a little brighter highlights and kind of like going down. Okay. I think that's beautiful. All right. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to turn off that now. Whew, the colors. Let me tell you the colors. Yes, absolutely. The contrast is beautiful in black and white. And I think that's one of the things too, that I really like to, in these particular images, provide a black and white as well. I normally don't shoot in black and white, but like just Halloween, that's just the way it needs to be sometimes, right? So for this one, I kind of want a desaturated, like for her shoot, my focus was Morticia Addams. Like, what would Morticia Addams' lounge look like? What would her bedroom look like? What would her editing look like? And thankfully, John, I think you're younger than I am. BT dubs. But anyway, like thankfully we have Wednesday, right? The latest season of Adams, and we kind of know, like generally speaking, like what that editing would be. And so I'm going to mimic some of that editing. It's going to be desaturated. There's going to be some good contrast just because I love contrast. So I'm going to go ahead and first off, I'm going to go and make this more blue. Right? I love it. More blue. I want to up the details in the shadows just because she has this beautiful like raven or is it a crow? I don't know. So she's Norwegian. And it was really important for her to kind of show her Norse paganism in these photos. And I remember that I think the crow, I can't remember if it's a crow or a raven, but it's really, 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 really important for her. So I want to make sure that this feather, because it has actually some like religious symbology for her, I want to make sure that that is like captured in her photo. Did the model come in makeup ready? Yes, actually. So in my studio, I partner with a hair and makeup artist. And so this hair and makeup ended up taking about 2 hours for it to be completely finished and be completely done. Okay, so I upped the shadows a little bit. There we go. Cool. I absolutely love where this is going. One of the things that I kind of always forget to do is I just like to enable lens correction. And as soon as I do that, you can kind of tell that her face, like it kind of changes, like the warp kind of changes. So at this point, now I need to add the vignette back. So I'm definitely there with Sean. Sean was like, I don't know why I like vignettes. I just like vignettes. I'm with Sean. I like vignettes too. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to brush a mask right here. Because if you notice, her like this little shoulder here is like really, really bright. And I'm not a fan of that. Now, I was extra and I changed my mask settings to be pink because that is one of my favorite colors. You guys can change your mask color to be whatever color you want, but I chose pink. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring those highlights down. So there you go. So now it's not so in your face, which is what I love. I want the face to be the focus. I don't want her shoulder to be the focus. So I'm going to bring that down. Okay, now I'm coming back and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to orange. This is her skin tone. I'm going to actually drop it down a couple of saturations and then up the luminance again. All right, and so let's kind of toggle that. That's before, that's after. Before, after. I have to say, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Cody's with me with the pink. Yes. Okay. Now I do like to add some colors into my shadow sometimes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little blue to my shadows. I absolutely love the way that that looks. Oh, I love that. Okay. And then sometimes if I get really extra, I actually bring some warm back a little bit in my midtones just to kind of warm her up a little bit, but to have this like ghastly like contrast, right? Because it's like, if you guys ever notice, like when you see blues and you see oranges together, specifically in photos and on screens and whatnot, like those, it just, I mean, those are complementary. They just look really, really good together. And so I like to actually try to infuse blues and oranges in every single image that I create. Hey, Frank, good to see you. Glad you're here, friend. Okay, so I am going to add a little texture because, I mean, we have a lot of detail here, especially in that crown and in her hair. So I want to go ahead and do that. And then I'm gonna do something that Sean told me. I'm gonna hold down my mask and I'm gonna get it to where like I got like just an outline. Yes. Beautiful. I absolutely love it. Okay. So Bruce was she looking for something specific? Yes, she was looking for like, so we were celebrating her 55th birthday, which isn't like, she's stunning, absolutely stunning. So this is her 55th birthday, and she wanted to capture her Norse paganism. And so we did it. We're like, okay, that's cool. I got you. Okay, this is stunning, absolutely stunning. So I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to move this to Photoshop. So I'm going to do Command E, and it should automatically open up in Photoshop for me. Or did it just export? All right, let's go. So with Photoshop, I'm just going to go ahead and open it up. That is not the one I exported. I don't even know where it went. Goodness gracious, y'all. Where did I put it? Nope. We're back here. I'm just going to do this the old school way. Oh, Shift Command E. Hello. I'll do it again. This is where we wait. Okay, so what I want to show you guys in Photoshop, so let's like make this smaller. What I want to show you guys in Photoshop is the way that I correct skin tones. All right, so this is kind of like a big thing. Because while it's beautiful, we just want to make sure that like her skin, we don't want to take away from her age, but anything that's in there that could look or kind of like diminish or distract from the image, we want to make sure that we remove. All right. So as you guys know, what we're going to do, I like to always keep an original because at this point, I love to be able to kind of compare and contrast. So I'm going to hit Command J. That's going to duplicate it for me. I'm going to go ahead and hit J itself, and I'm going to use my little spot healer. Right. So I'm just going to kind of hit these little places. Now you can use the remove tool for this if you really wanted to. And I'm actually going to go ahead and quit this just to make sure that like my computer is doing good. Keep open. What's happening? Oh, my bad. Okay, we'll just reduce you. That's fine. You can play. Okay. And so you can do the remove tool here if you want to, but it's going to take forever and a day. This is just like way quicker in my opinion. All right. So I'm going to reduce this down, and some of these like horizontal wrinkles, I'm just going to go ahead and kind of smooth out or get rid of. Okay. So you guys, I know this is a pretty popular topic, is retouching skin and using high frequency separation. And actually, funny enough, the guy that I learned from, Aaron, he's going to be on after me. So make sure you guys stay on so you can learn from him. He's been teaching forever. Definitely over a decade, I'm sure, because that whenever I first got started, that's where I went to start learning a lot of my Photoshop stuff. So it's super cool that he's going to be joining. Okay, so essentially what I want to do is I want to do a high frequency separation. Okay, what it does, it separates the skin tones and then it separates the skin texture. And then you can kind of manipulate those two independently. Okay, so what I want to do really is kind of change the skin, like underlying the smoothness of everything. Now I have actions already created for this, so I don't have to do it every single time. But for you, I'm going to go ahead and move through these steps one by one. Okay. Alrighty, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to rename this. Can I rename you? No, because you're locked. Come on, boo-boo. All right, and I'm going to rename you. Come here, boo-boo. Okay, you are, I guess base 0 would be great, but you're the starting point. You're ground. Okay, and then here, this is, edit. All right, sweet. So now what I'm gonna do is Command J. I'm gonna do color. I always like to name them color, and this is gonna be texture. Okay, now I'm gonna hide my color. I'm gonna go in, or hide my texture. I'm gonna go into my color. I'm going to go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And then I like to pretty much go to where you're blurring to where you don't see the pores. Now, here's the thing though, is that you can actually over blur your subject. And if you end up over blurring your subject, that means more is going to be written onto your texture layer than you want, right? So I'm going to show you what happens when you do that. Let's say like, okay, I'm going to go to 30. No, I'm going to go 30 would be kind of crazy, but we'll go to 20. Okay. Oh, this is so beautiful. This is so blurred. I mean, this is great. Cool. Now, let me show you what happens when you do that, if you do this too much. Okay, so you go then to texture. I'm going to go to image. I'm going to go to apply image. And I'm going to select which layer that I want, which is color. And I'm going to say subtract. Now, as soon as I am subtracting, you can see, I don't even have to do this. I'm going to just even delete it. But you can see that there's color in this, in this texture. There should not be color in this texture. And that is a good sign that you went too much in your Gaussian blur. So you need to kind of like come back a little bit. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and cancel that out. I'm going to undo, actually. Undo. Okay, so now I'm going to come back. Yeah. So I'm going to go back to blur, Gaussian blur. Because essentially what happened is that like some of the texture that you see actually is pigmentation. But if you end up blurring it out way too much, that pigmentation ends up going into the texture file. Does that make sense? And so then at that point, you just have way more that you actually need to fix. So you want to make sure that that the pigmentation that is texture, or the pigmentation that looks like texture, but is really her skin tone, needs to stay within her skin tone. And that's just one of those things that you have to kind of try and figure it out. All right, so I'm going to go back down low again. I think last time I did this, I did it like around 7 and I really liked it. So you can kind of see, especially in her cheekbones, there is still like texture there. All right. There's still definitely texture there. It's not just like blurred. So I'm going to have to do some work on that. But this time when I go and I do the subtraction, ooh, not duplicate. Holy granola. No. Don't need to do that. So when I do the image, apply image, I'm going to go to color again. Subtract, scale is 1. See, look how this is more gray, right? And I even still see some color in it. So I could even reduce the Gaussian blur even more, but I'm going to keep moving with it. And then your offset is going to be 128. The reason why that you want 128 is that you want it to be gray. You want to be in the middle of gray because you're going to use linear light in order to blur this. All right, so essentially I'm going to do linear light, and then essentially what that does is that now it has applied the texture onto the color, and now it's completely separated. So I'm going to go ahead and group that. So I select those two, I hit Command G, that creates a group, and then I can turn it off, and I'll see the original edit underneath that. And so when I toggle this group on and off, I should not see hardly any difference, and I don't. So it looks like I definitely got the high frequency separation complete, and it's done. Sweet. So now what I'm going to do is I actually like to turn off my texture. And now you can see that there's definitely some texture within the pigmentation of the color. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to smooth that out. So what we need to do now is that we need to get into our mixer brush. All right. So I'm going to go into my brush. I hold it down until I get to the mixer brush. And then from here, I have my settings, right? I have about 9% wet. So I like wet. My load is about 75. My mix is 0. And I have it where I'm not picking up or I'm adding color. Now, if I wanted to say add some more oranges to the side to be a little bit more dramatic, maybe she's holding a candle or something, this would be a really good opportunity where I could kind of, add that in a little bit, but I'm not going to do that. I actually just want the brush to pick up the pigments that are already there in the image, and I want it to smooth it out, but I want it to be a slow build, which is why I'm using just like a 9%. Now I have a Wacom tablet for this, and I have a little tiny guy. I have the little one, the cheapest one that you can get from me. I don't need a huge one. Quite literally, I don't even think I could pick it up. I don't even, you guys can't see it. It's smaller than a sheet of paper. It's tiny. Sean asks, do you hire a makeup artist? 100%. We definitely hire a makeup artist. All right, so I removed the texture from the picture in order for me to kind of see where I'm at, right? Because sometimes I'll try to move texture around and it ends up being that it's not from the texture layer, that it's from my color or vice versa. And then I'm working an area and it's just not doing what I want it to do. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to clean this up, but I'm going to follow the flow of her face. So right now with her cheeks, I'm quite literally just kind of going back and forth, and you can see how it quite literally is just smoothing out that area using the colors that are already there. Now, once I get this done, what's going to happen is that there's still going to be some texture. Let's see. I really want to close Lightroom. But if I do that, you're in the middle of editing your Photoshop. It will not be visible in Lightroom if you close. That's cool. Close. I don't care. I'm not going back. I want the processing speed of my Photoshop back. Oh, and I can get rid of this too now. Okay, cool. Mucho better. Okay, cool. So now we're in here and we're cleaning up. Now, as soon as I get done with this, what's going to happen is that you guys are going to see that the texture is still going to be very much visible once I put the texture layer on top of it. And there's still something that I want to do to the texture layer as soon as it gets done. Now, if you guys have any questions about photography in general, I am here to help with lighting. All right, I'm gonna back out a little bit. Kind of bring it back. There it goes. Uh-oh. I hate when I accidentally make copies of things. It's no, I wasn't trying to do that. Okay, cool. And I love how her earring right here, it just kind of goes, it goes in, like it kind of blings out a little bit. All right. So that cheek is almost done. Let's go ahead and kind of put that texture back. And I want you guys to see kind of like, you can definitely see the texture, right? So even though, and that's, so this is what it was before. And this is what it is now with me cleaning it up. But the texture is still very prominent. And there's actually a step that we're going to do after this in order to clean that texture up even more. Now, it's not going to remove wrinkles and pores and whatnot, because we want to make sure that like we're still true to form to what she looks like, because she's beautiful and we don't want to take away anything. What we want to do though, however, is that we don't want it to be distraction, and we want the focus to be on her, and I want the focus to be on her eyes, because it's just absolutely stunning. Okay, so I'm going to go through here really quickly and just kind of clean this up. Again, I'm just going with the flow of the lip. So right here, I'm going up and down. Now around her lip, I'm going around it. It's really important to go with the flow of the skin. Otherwise, it just looks weird of the shadows. And then here, I'm just going to go a little bit bigger with my brush. And then I'm going to just soften this stuff up here. But for the most part, it looks like it's done. Okay. Now, with that said, sometimes what I really love to do too is I like to, oops, I unplugged my live shows. I ended up unplugging my laptop. That was so weird. Okay. So I really love now to like darken some shadows and bring some highlights out, but I don't want to dodge or burn in this scenario. What I like to do is I like to create another levels layer. So I'll create levels, a non-destructible layer, of course, and I'll kind of bring in those shadows and I kind of bring in those midtones. Yeah. Now here on the layer, I'm going to do Command I in order to invert that. Then I'm going to go to my regular old brush. And then where I want a little bit more like saturated of the shadows, that's where I kind of bring it in. And normally it's around the cheekbones. But I will zoom out. I also want to do it kind of around here too, to kind of just like, wow, now I'm just like painting. Okay. So it's same with mask, right? Anytime that you do with mask, white you see, black you don't. And now that I have it where I want it, I'm going to kind of decrease it. Sweet. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add the texture back. Beautiful. Now this is stunning. Okay, so what I'm going to do, let's go ahead and collapse this group. This is before and after the high frequency separation. You can definitely see now like how much cleaner the shadows are, because I went in and I cleaned that up. And then if I go back to the original, that's it without, like the blemishes and all of that stuff too, right? Stunning. Okay, sweet. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to merge this group. And now this is going to be our, this is our base 2 now. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys how I go back and I clean some of this texture up even more. Okay, so I have high frequency separated. I ended up putting it back together. And so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a Command J again, Command J again. All right, cool. All right, sweet. So I have this. I'm going to go to, let's see, we're going to call this unsharpen. unsharpen, because that's essentially what we're going to be doing next. And this will be apply image. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to unsharpen. I'm going to go to filter. I'm going to go to sharpen, unsharpen mask. Okay, now let me see if I can zoom in. You guys can kind of see what's happening. Okay. So essentially what I need to do is I kind of need to figure out the level of which I need to like make things sharp, because what's going to happen is that I'm going to accentuate some of the texture. Then I'm going to go and I'm going to subtract that texture with another layer. And then it's going to create a new image where I can essentially create an inverted mask and kind of paint over it in order for those places to be a little bit more smooth, which is really neat. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So essentially what's happening here, so the radius, you can really see this a lot. This is like how sharp, how like tiny you want the pixels to be. And then the threshold here is what all you want to be sharpened. So for instance, if I end up going to like a very high threshold, like hardly anything is sharpened. If I end up going to a low, everything is sharpened, right? And it has a lot to do with contrast. That's what it's looking for specifically. So I know that I'm going to want a lower threshold because whatever is sharp is what's going to be, it's what's going to be separated. And then my radius, now, if I keep going, and essentially what I want to do is I want to look to where to see where the pores are not getting any more like brought out, right? So if I start here, I can tell like, okay, they're softer. They're softer. All right, now I'm at 4. And it hasn't really changed once I got to 4 to 5. So that's where I'm going to stick. I'm going to stick about there. Okay. So now that I have that unsharpened mask is there, then I'm going to go to apply image. So I'm going to go to my apply image. And I want to subtract my unsharpened mask from this. Sweet. All right, now I'm going to reduce my unsharpened mask. I'm going to do my apply image as linear light. I'm going to do a mask. I'm going to invert it like I did before, right? So just Command I. And now with my mask, I have my white brush everywhere where I want it to be a little less pronounced is where I'm going to paint. And you can see how that texture is starting to go away. Right. Now, here's the thing that I love about this. And of course, like where you paint it, you want to make sure that you're painting this not at hard lines, like where the nose is and where the lips are and whatnot. Like you want to make sure that you are retaining that. Can't wait to show you guys the previous one. Like when you look at this and then you look at how it was, oh goodness, it's going to be beautiful. All right, now let's zoom out. Oh, I guess we got to do her chin, huh? Okay, and do her chin. Okay, sweet. All right, so now we have this. I'm going to delete this. I don't need it. This again is another group. All right, before, after, before, after. Holy moly. Isn't that beautiful? Goodness gracious. Okay, cool. All right, so what I'm going to do, I always end up merging groups. All right, so I'm going to say this is version 1. this is version 2. Just because I like to kind of see our steps, right? So this is where we started, then we went there, and now we're here. Oof, that's beautiful. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to hide that. Now I want her eyes to pop a little bit more. So I'm going to go into curves. Again, I'm going to end up inverting this, but I'm going to up this really quick. Okay, I got it. Cool. And then I'm going to invert. And then I got here. And I'm just going to kind of go over her eyes a little bit. And then I'm going to reduce it down to kind of where I want it to be. Sweet. And then I'm going to go also to sharpen. I'm going to sharpen the eyes a little bit. Now, if there's anything else too that I kind of want to lighten up, I'm going to do that as well. Let's see. Let's go a little bit lighter. Yeah. Like, so for instance, her lips probably can be a little lightened. Nope. I'm still in her sharpen. So I'm going to go ahead and make that a little bit brighter, specifically that red there. I think that would be great. Okay. Now, the thing that's really bothering me here is, hey, Beth, thank you. So the thing that's really getting me is these edges of her crown. I'm not a really big fan of that. That's where it's like, it kind of really detracts really from like what we're doing here. Cause it's one of those where it's like, that is a fake crown, right? So we want to make sure that like the realism here is locked on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this on a new layer. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay. And I mean, I have the polygonal tool. I don't really need much here. I'm going to go ahead and do like a 1 pixel feather radius. I'm going to get in here. And even though I'm just going to like kind of go in. I'll do 1 and you can kind of see how this would work. All right, so we got that in. Now, if I wanted to go ahead and kind of add to it, I absolutely love, like, if we're going to do this, I might as well just like add all of the selections at once so I can go ahead and just keep moving and grooving, right? And this, again, it doesn't really need to be perfect because it just like, it really just needs to hide like this crazy contrast, because that her hair being so dark and this crown being black, you end up seeing it just glares at you, right? And again, what is my focus here? My focus is her eyes. That's what I want the focus to be, not on the foam aspect of her crown. Now, this level of Photoshop typically is actually not like, I would do her skin for normal like empowerment session. So if someone comes to me, this is normally what I would do. However, for magazines, or, you know, if I'm shooting any editorial piece or anything for like brand, 100% this level of editing is what I would do. But normally for portraits, I literally am delivering, gosh, 20, 30 images. So this level of Photoshop just cannot take place. All right, and then I have this one over here. Now I did have a 1 pixel radius around all of these. So of course that's not going to work out, especially whenever we're coming to the ones over here at the end. I was shooting with the 1.8, which is a really low aperture. So it allowed a lot of light to come in, but it also created this beautiful depth of field, which is why her eyes are just so crisp. So because of that, that means that things do fall off in a blur pretty quickly. And I want to make sure that we end up having that. Okay, so we have about 7 minutes left in this. So I want to go ahead and make sure that I do this pretty quick. Sweet. So what I'm going to do quite literally is I'm just going to pick this color. I'm just going to pick a color. And I'm just going to fill it in. And then I'm going to end up doing, yeah, I'm going to pick this color over here. Do something that's kind of close. Okay. Sweet. And then I'm going to end up having to like do some more things to it. Okay. Then I'm going to go to filter. I'm going to go to noise. I'm going to add noise. I want to add some noise to that. I'm going to, there you go. So now you can kind of see how like it kind of looks sparkly, kind of like how the other one does, right? And I can change it to where it's like not monochromatic. I can do like do different colors if I wanted to, but I am going to stick to monochromatic. I think that would just work really well. So I'm going to do that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually blur it a little bit. So we're going to go into Gaussian. And I'm going to like blur it like insanely a small amount. Okay, sweet. So now you can kind of see that it's blurring in a little bit more, but now I need to make it like super look realistic because right now it just does not look realistic whatsoever, right? And so that means I'm going to have to kind of shade things out a little bit. I need to blur things out. I need to expand a little bit. I am running out of time with you guys, so I'm trying to do this thing super fast. That's all right. I'll post the final image in my Behance profile. So if you guys want to see what the final image is looking like, make sure that you go ahead and give that a follow. Okay, and then I'm going to go into my burn tool. Come here, burn tool. Oh, I want some coffee right now. I'm so excited. What are you guys drinking right now? Are you guys drinking, anybody enjoying some coffee? I got coffee in this like odd Gat Crickets mug. My daughter has like a lizard. I don't know. It's just interesting. Okay, sweet. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to essentially burn those pieces, make them kind of dark. And then I can tell that I'm going to need to add a little blue to this. Okay. And then I'm actually going to end up, let's see, I wonder if I can smudge these out real quick. Let's see, I got a couple minutes left. All right, so what I want to do is I want to go here. I'm going to select this. All right, I'm going to transform. We're going to do the bendy transform. Bendy transform. Come on, bendy transform. Come join us. Yes. Okay. And essentially what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of stretch it, because the thing about this foam is that it's not like it's not a perfect edge. So that's what I like about, this technique, is that it doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to blend in. Sweet. I'm going to have to expand that even more. Okay, so I'm just going to do this one really quick. And then I'm going to add some blue to it. It's crazy how quick an hour goes by. You guys have been so off. Reverb mic, coffee first, then oxygen. I concur, sir. I concur. I absolutely love this tool. I mean, it really lets you kind of have like freedom here. Now, what I could do, and I'm going to do this for giggles. All right, I'm going to do this for giggles. So let's deselect that. Cool. Let's see. Oh, I have 2 minutes left. All right. So now we kind of like, let me just kind of go out. There you go. I think it's one of those things where it's like you just look at it really closely and you can see it, but for the most part. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go actually into selective color. I could do this as an adjusted layer, but I'm not. I'm a risk taker. I'm going to add some cyan to it and add some blue. Ooh, I like it. I like it like that. Okay, perfect. Sweet. I think that looks good. Now, the only other thing, I mean, I can like fix it up a little bit more, but we are definitely getting close to our end of our time. The only thing that I probably would do is also get rid of this little guy right here. That's like super easy nowadays, right? You can either use the remove tool, which is really cool. I can quite literally just go like, nah, dog, I don't want you in my photo. Goodbye. They'll do some like calculations and all that good stuff. And then it'll end up like being like, cool, I don't want it there. Or I can end up going into the generative tool, right? Firefly, which is amazing. And I can go ahead and I can clean that out. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you so much for exploring the world of spooky portraits and then also fog. I hope that you guys get to explore Halloween portraits for yourself as well. I'll see you guys later. Bye.